Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Welcome, everybody. Dr. Homebrew here for you, with you even, during these trying times. Beverly just blinded me by turning on the lights, and it reflected off of her shoulders, and I don't like it.
I noticed that.
It was dark and brooding in here. I'm trying to be in a bad mood.
It was like the green flash at the end, when the sun goes down.
Yeah.
But it stays
Sorry, Beverly, what?
bright.
I apologize.
Are you implying that Beverly is like...
I don't know.
Brian,
Brian, push the button on your thing.
Brian.
This button here?
I couldn't
Yeah.
see your faces,
All
your
right.
beautiful faces on the camera.
That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be miserable. I'm trying to be a miserable asshole today.
Nobody watches
already
this.
I'm trying to be worse than that. Anyway, it's Dr. Homebrew, and you know what's not miserable is using PBW and Star Sand from 5 Star Chemicals. You know, I used PBW to clean out my dishwasher because
Yeah.
apparently there's a bunch of mung and like nonsense that can live in your dishwasher. Not with PBW. Cleaned it right up, like these little fat deposits.
Organics just go away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
With
actually.
that
I
hot
actually might
PBW.
do it again because I put just a little bit in the bottom, and it got a lot of it out, but then I just didn't do it again.
You know what you got to check for in your dishwasher? Here's a public service announcement. Not just about homebrew for you and our listeners.
All right.
There's a place called the ledge in your dishwasher. So when you close that door,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
lip on the door closes on top of the sort of main cavern of the dishwasher. And if you got junk in there, it'll just get kind of smushed down and it never rinses out. And every month or so, you got to grab like a napkin, or Beverly's looking at me like, "Oh my God, what's the matter with you?" You want to grab something and like just just take it and just
That's what I'm talking about.
Drag it along there. Get that stuff off of there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's called schmegma.
Mine has a
Yes.
trap and everything I had to take out. It was gross. It was like congealed fat deposits.
Something,
It
yeah.
was not good. It was like
Well, you can
pollen.
run your dishwasher for a while, get some hot water in there, and then just, don't close it. Just leave the water in there and just dump a bunch of PBW in there so it just soaks.
Yeah.
And then you can really do it.
Yeah,
good
but
idea.
hey man, sprinkling a little bit on there worked wonders, and it can do the same thing for your carboys and all the kind of other mung that you don't want to deal with in
I wouldn't
life.
do Star Sand in the
Yeah.
dishwasher, though. That might
No. Yeah, don't do Star Sand, but definitely
I did that
PBW
once.
is fine. Everything will be all right. So thank you to 5 Star folks for keeping the show on the air. All right,
Also works well for brewing equipment.
That's true.
I hate it.
Ask me what happens when you put Star Sand in your dishwasher.
We have 2 beers for you guys today. We have an English Barley Wine and an American Brown Ale. And I'm excited about both of these beers.
Yeah.
Let me wave at Ken. Hi, Ken.
Hey, Ken.
Let's see.
Where's Barbie
Let's
tonight?
let's make sure Ken is ready. I'm just basically throwing emojis at him over Skype. There's a smiley face and the thumbs up. I like the Skype thumbs up because it starts as like a fist and then the thumb actually comes up.
Pops up.
Yeah, it's a moving
Oh, nice.
like thing. So
I wonder what their poop emoji is like then.
I don't know. That would be cool, like soft serve kind of a deal.
Do they have a head banging emoji?
Let's try to just give Ken a call here. Maybe he's like, yeah, I see your emojis, dude. Ken's not online. So let's go ahead and start with his beer, and
All right.
he'll catch up.
We're going to pour it. No breaks here. We're just going to go right
We're
into
just going to
it.
go, yeah, we're going to go
That's
right
right.
into it.
We've obliterated the breaks.
I want to get in, get out.
Got a nice little hiss there when I opened it, and I'm going to pour this down the glasses here. You want some too, JP?
Yeah, man, why
All
not?
right, here we go. We have our little 8-ounce judging glasses here.
Thank you, sir. All right, Brian Shar, why don't you go ahead and start on Ken's English Barley Wine, please?
Yes, thank you, Jason. I really like this beer. Just as an initial statement, this is a really tasty beer. There's a nice hiss when the bottle opened.
Yeah.
Always a good sign. I checked the mark for bottle inspection. It was appropriate size bottle and fill and everything. The aroma was great. Great not being a favorite descriptor. But it was malty. It had kind of a candy-like sugar character to it, more of a toffee. When I sat and thought about it for a little bit, what's more British than toffee, really? Medium floral and earthy hops. No off aromas, no diacetyl. Got some, at a low level, kind of a bready character. Not B-R-E-T-T, but B-R-E-A-D, like sandwich. Sweet ethanol. It was a very complex aroma. Really liked it. Gave that 10 out of 12 for the aroma. And I just smelled it again because I liked it so much. The appearance, medium to dark brown. There are some ruby highlights when you hold it up to the light. The head is low and doesn't persist, but that's expected for a style that has this much alcohol. It's totally okay. To the extent you can tell with a beer that's this dark, it's very clear, 3 out of 3 for appearance. Flavor, initially the flavor is malt and toffee, followed up by ethanol sweetness. And I think it's important to, when you're scoring a beer like this, when you have, when it's hot or harsh or otherwise unpleasant, that's often something that comes up more in mouthfeel. There's a certain character to ethanol, especially when it's clean and well fermented, and not fermented hot where it's fusillade. Where you've had a good fermentation, there is kind of a sweet ethanol character you can get in a high alcohol beer, and that's definitely present here. And that goes in as a flavor descriptor, not a mouthfeel descriptor. Bitterness comes up mid-palate to almost balance. It's still more of a malt-oriented beer to me. Finish is medium duration. It's clean, malty toffee, really well attenuated. I thought this was really, for a beer that's this big, and it's not quite as big alcohol-wise as an American barley wine typically, but it's a big beer. And this beer is, good job on fermentation because it's well attenuated. It doesn't leave a lot of worty type character behind. You have a sip and then you want more. So that's 14 out of 20 for flavor. Mouthfeel, 5 out of 5. It's warming, definitely, but not harsh. Low carbonation. It's that low carbonation is okay for this style. It's British and it's a high alcohol beer, so that's acceptable. Full-bodied, creamy, again 5 out of 5. Overall impression 8 out of 10. A beer like this is why people like to drink this style of beer. This is just really well made. It's flavorful. It's complex. Complex flavor, complex aroma, tasty alcohol without being harsh or fusillade. Very well done in a difficult style to ferment. I guess if I were to want one more thing, it's kind of contradictory to what I just said, so excuse me for being internally inconsistent here, but
it's all right.
Maybe a little bit longer finish on this beer would be nice.
Wow.
And that's not really fair for 2 reasons.
Tell me about it, brother.
One is it's well attenuated, and I was thinking about this in the car. I judged this at home, and I was then thinking about this
I judged this in traffic on the way over.
Well, yeah, who doesn't? I mean, if you're going to be a real doctor of homebrew, you're going to be ready to judge in pretty much any circumstance.
That's right.
I probably should have come up a couple points on this, and I'm probably even willing to come up a couple points on this, because I'd rather have it be well attenuated and drinkable like it is than if a longer finish means maybe it's not quite as attenuated and it stays on the tongue longer. I think it will be less pleasant, right? And it's and I've always kind of struggled with and I've always kind of struggled with when you have a beer that you like in every respect, except for maybe the finish is really short. That's like one of the. I'm a grandmaster judge, and I still don't know after 25 years of brewing, how are you supposed to adjust the finish, sort of by itself? And all I can think of is attenuation. But I like the attenuation the way it is. So I gave this a 40, but realistically, I probably should come up a couple to give this more of a 42.
Combination,
really, really well done.
Yeah, attenuation and the aftertaste, like the lingering flavors that stay on your tongue and don't just dry off and wash away.
Right, but the finish is long enough. It's not like it immediately goes off the tongue and you don't taste it anymore.
Sure.
And I'd rather have that trade-off of it being this attenuated and drinkable than be a little bit less attenuated and then be cloying and not as pleasant.
The finish of this water is pretty dry. It just doesn't linger on my tongue like I'd like it to.
That's true.
What's the
it's very
wetness factor,
thin.
though?
You call this water?
It's very thin water. All right, Brian Cooper.
Okay.
Let's go.
I very much liked this beer as well. I will say up front. Had a nice strong hiss when it opened it up. In the nose, I get a pleasantly rich malty quality. It's moderately caramelly with a low fig-like note behind that.
Note.
A slight kind of, hey, there's my Minnesota coming out there. Yeah, don't
his
you know?
note is very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to light this note for dinner.
I got a very slight tobacco and leather kind of quality in the nose.
Sexy.
It's like an old couch with in a
like,
pipe smoker's house kind of. I mean, it doesn't really smell like that, but it gives you that impression.
Was that supposed to make this sound appealing?
I'm just trying to
Leather-bound
romanticize the
books.
beer
Okay.
here. Give me a break. Medium low earthy hops. The alcohol, it doesn't jump out at you in the nose. It's actually so smooth that it seems like it could be medium low, but it's just seems smooth and inviting. There was a little bit of sherry, but not too much sherry there. It is there, kind of a low sherry-like quality. Clean and no DMS or diacetyl. Comes across a little toffee-like, which I like. It's a copper-colored beer with a light tan head that starts medium and fades to a low color of mostly finer bubbles after a fair amount of time. And that's fine for the style. It shouldn't have a big head sticking around forever with all that alcohol. I did find that the beer is fairly murky, and that's one thing that I noted is I'd like to clear it up a little bit. So I knocked it down a point on appearance for the murkiness. Anyway, a fine point, I suppose. Flavor-wise, it's malty and vinous, with raisiny and caramelly flavors dominating the initial taste. Low, out-of-the-way bitterness, kind of medium-low, towards medium-low. A medium but smooth alcohol is apparent. Finishes semi-dry, fairly complex, and is balanced definitely to the malt. I got a medium-low earthy hop there, just kind of balancing along with the bitterness there. It is somewhat fruity, like an aged dried fruit character. And again, that leathery kind of quality. It's a clean beer, definitely very malty aftertaste, and it doesn't linger forever, but it sticks around for a good while. It's not like it's just gone and washes out my tongue. But yeah, that dryness does play a little trick on it, and everything else is so smooth that it just you drink it and then it kind of dries away after a little while. Mouthfeel wise, medium full body, kind of medium full in that range. It's not super full. But moderately high carbonation, actually kind of pushing just a bit towards the too prickly side for the style. It was, really big hiss when you opened it, and it drove a lot of carbonation. So these bottles are pretty well carbonated, and that's actually it's easier to air in bottles on the other side of things unless you're bottle carbonating. So yeah, and sometimes if you do bottle carbonate, I don't know if this was. I don't really see anything in the bottom. It can go further towards that side over time as you age your beers. And, we've talked about that before on the show with barley wines. Like the last one you drink can be it's carbonated perfectly now. Boy, this beer is super smooth, almost kind of creamy with no astringency. And, I really like the mouthfeel on it other than the slight kind of prickliness.
Yeah.
Very pleasant drinking English barley wine overall, with a lot of interesting flavors to keep the tongue interested. CO2 seems just a bit high, a little too effervescent, but really a fine point there. Also drives some very nice flavors to your nose and over your tongue. So I really don't mind it, and it's not jarringly like, wow, that's way too carbonated. You can also perhaps figure out a way to clarify this a little better. But damn, overall, it's just a nice job. I mean, these are fine points. I think it's a really nice beer. I gave it a 41.
Wow.
It'd be interesting to talk about the water too.
Yeah, you think there's a water thing going on?
I don't know. I guess I'm wondering if there's a little mineralness in there, kind of behind the bitterness. It's kind of accenting the bitterness a little bit, but I don't know.
I'm usually really sensitive to that, and I'm
Yeah.
not getting it. But
It's
it doesn't
not
mean
chalky.
It's not there.
No, and I'm just wondering what if any water treatment was done and where you went with that. Like, is it Burtonized kind of water, or is it because it seems like there is some minerality to it, but it's not distracting and like oh, they really over adjusted their water. But yeah, it's definitely like a 41-point barley wine here we're dealing with. This is nice. If you cleared up that, maybe dial back the carbonation just a little bit. Keep this recipe like it is. That's going to be a medal winner.
We have Ken on the line. Ken,
Yes.
what's up, dude? Hey, I was calling your other Skype thing or whatever.
Oh, well, I didn't know I had another one.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw it on the sheet, so I apologize, man. But we literally just finished with your beer, but I'm sure we can give you some recaps unless you were listening.
I was not. I didn't know you could while it was live. But that's
Damn.
great.
Ken, how dare you
I
not
have to
know
wait 2
everything
months.
about us?
Mm.
Well, thanks for joining us, man. Hey, again, my apologies, but I'm glad that we were able to fire emojis at each other for a second. That's just kind of what I really am all about.
It makes his life complete.
Yeah.
I've definitely gathered that from the shows.
Well, you know what they say, man. Let's see. Where should we start, Brian Cooper?
Well, let's ask him about
how
long
he's been brewing.
Well, I've been brewing with my wife. My wife and I brew together
Nice.
for about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
We are chemists by trade. She's a high school teacher, and I work at a university, so that kind of gave us a leg up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No wonder your fermentation is so good.
Do you ever use that against her whenever you guys are arguing? Like, well, look, I work at a university, so I know what I'm talking about.
No, she's much smarter than I am.
Good answer.
I'm not going to win that, whatever.
It's a good answer.
Kenneth, are you two in a homebrew club, or are you lone wolves of brewing?
Well, I was hoping you would ask that.
Oh.
Because I am actually in the greatest homebrew club in the country,
Please give it a shout out.
the Star City Brewers Guild of Roanoke, Virginia.
There you
Nice.
go.
Right.
We won't
we
disappear
have,
on you.
so it's a great club. I learned a ton from them. They have incredible brewers. We do quarterly competitions. We have the best homebrew tournament in the country. The Throwdown, if anyone wants to enter it, it's coming up in March.
Ooh, how do we enter that?
Well, it's going to be on the BJCP site, and we're kind of a small homebrew competition with about 225 entries, but we make up for it with about $8,000 in prizes.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
225 is not tiny. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
set of
that's a good. Yeah. That's a
One
good size.
last shout out about the best homebrew shop.
Mm-hmm.
My good friend Rob Burden, the Southern Hills Homebrew Supply. He's a big part of why our club is great and a big part of why my beer's so good.
Awesome.
A good local shop can really help keep
Yeah,
the
you
energy
gotta have
going
that
in your
support.
brewers.
For sure.
I'm assuming you liked the beer. I didn't hear anything. But
No, it sucked pretty much. No, we
I gave it a 4. Cooper
low-
gave it a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
13 did
Low
not judge.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, everybody liked the beer. Brian Cooper just finished. Brian Shar went. If you guys just want to do a quick recap for Ken, like a very 30-second rundown of your thoughts.
Hello, my ESPN recap was I can't do it quite like that. I gave it a 40. I thought it was really well done, really well attenuated. Fermentation was really great in this beer. It had a really complex flavor and aroma profile. We kind of went back and forth here a little bit. I probably should have given it a couple more points because I ideally wanted, looking for things that there were no off flavors, nothing wrong with this beer. I wanted to maybe have a little bit longer finish, but at the end of the day, I think the finish length is just fine the way it is. I like the attenuation the way it is. So 40 points here.
Yeah, read through the guidelines for English barley wine, and it hits most of the marks there. It's some really interesting stuff. In the nose, I found a little fig-like kind of note behind all the malt, caramel, and rich, and a little sherry-like. It's appearance-wise, I liked the appearance, the nice color, other than a little bit of murkiness, but that's kind of a point down and then quickly forgiven. It's vinous in the flavor, kind of raisiny, caramelly flavors, and dried fruit. We're talking about the finish a lot. It's just semi-dry and kind of dries off the tongue, but still leaves a little lingering flavor for just a little while. And then you want another sip, which is a nice thing for one of these beers because it can really get you messed up that way. It's nice. And the mouthfeel was pretty nice. I thought the carbonation was just a touch high, but otherwise everything was just kind of nice. I liked it. I gave it a 41.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love those scores.
Thank you. Yeah, we aim to please. I remember noting that when Kenneth sent me his first email, he said in his title of his message, "Delicious beers await your taste buds." And I was like, boy, this guy better deliver, because
Yeah.
dang.
Are you sure you don't have a marketing side job, that you're working education as a chemist? You don't do marketing?
No, I don't. I think my homebrew club, if it's going to be a little disappointed that you guys are swelling my head here.
How old is this beer, Ken?
That's what I wanted to ask too. Yeah.
I brewed it almost a year ago.
Almost
We brewed it almost a year ago.
Okay. See,
Really?
I have a couple questions about it, and maybe I'm way off base, but do you guys think it's too bitter?
No.
Really? For an English barley wine, you don't think it's too bitter?
No, I
No,
don't.
you guys are high. I think it's a little on the bitter side. I could have sworn that this beer was 6 months old. Like, that's how well taken care of it is. For being a year old,
So
it still has a high retention of, for my opinion, bitterness.
My question was about the water treatment. So I did note it's pushing towards a slight minerality, not like an over the top, like overly adjusted water, but something in the water is playing off that bitterness and making it a little bit biting. To me.
Okay.
What was your water that you used?
No, it's not my beer. I didn't do it.
Well, I can tell you what I adjusted it to. I mean, I put in 3.3 grams of gypsum and whatnot, but let me just see if I can tell you what exactly the.
And Kenneth,
Okay.
while you're looking that up, Jason, the guidelines say this can be up to 70 IBU.
Jesus
70 IBU
Christ.
is a lot of hops.
In a fresh
so
one.
this
yeah.
is I think well within. I don't even think this is close to 70, but it's definitely
Okay.
This can be a firmly bitter beer.
I haven't really sat down with a barley wine in, I would guess, 10 years or more. But I like this beer.
Yeah.
Because I think it's what you're saying, Brian. Like, you on the surface, you kind of want more to it. I think as homebrewers, I mean, I came up in the late 90s of homebrewing, right, where everything, you just mash shit in there, throw as much crystal malt, all that kind of stuff, right? And I think that's what we were sort of used to brewing,
Right.
but I think that sort of course has corrected a bit where you don't want as much of that weighty stuff in there. You want a lot less because you want it to be drinkable. You don't want to have 4 ounces of it and go, well, I can't have any more because I had syrup this morning and my
like the pastry
diabetes is out of
stout,
control.
Right. Exactly. That's why I don't like pastry stout, because you can have an ounce and you're done. I could sit and drink this at the Grenade here all night and be happy. And you have to pour me home, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bitterness can be just enough to balance and up to kind of a firm presence. So there's a pretty wide range for bitterness. As they age, though, I would say it tends to fade down. So you would expect this one to maybe be coming across a little sweeter and not have that much bitterness. So maybe when it was fresh, it was much more bitter.
Yeah, well, or
out of balance.
in
but now
another
it's-
year.
Now it's good.
Yeah.
Or just
We're
still high
saving
enough.
bottles to open one every 6 months. So
There you go.
It's
Kenneth,
good beer.
do you
I like
store
it.
your bottles in a temperature-controlled environment, or do you just keep them out in a closet somewhere?
It's in a very carefully controlled downstairs bathroom shower.
Yeah, hey, it's downstairs and it's in a shower. Probably no exterior walls or something. Probably stays pretty nice down there.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty 67 or something like that down here.
Yeah,
Nice.
Perfect.
Maybe even lower. It gets pretty cold in the winter, actually. But no, I was shooting for, 76 ppm of sulfate and 56 chloride. So it's not overly.
Yeah.
Well, those numbers seem fine to me. I think that.
Well, depending on where your water, if you're sure you know where your water started, did you start with RO or did you use your water and add gypsum to that?
I get my well water tested
Yeah.
every year, and it's basically
Because you're a chemist and you
close to
can.
RO water. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Wow, really nice. That's great.
Yeah.
Brian and I were having a discussion kind of before the show about whether there might have been any water adjustment on this, and I'm usually really sensitive to adjustment if it's out of bounds, and I couldn't tell anything. And
You could back off the gypsum just a touch. Just a touch.
that might be the bitterness that JP is getting.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's a little
That's
more
just from
bitter
life,
than I
though.
expected it to be. So I'll go with JP on that, but I'm hoping it's going to smooth out a little
See?
more as the years go on.
I know.
JP wins one.
I get a point every now and then, Ken. Well, hey man, do you have any questions for the guys? at all?
No, I'm glad I caught you. And
Yeah, me too.
I look forward to you guys trying my next beer, which I hope is even better than this one.
What's your
it?
next beer?
Belgian Dark Strong, if I'm looking correctly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Very good. All right, Ken. Well, thanks, man. Now I got your true and proper Skype name. I will not make this mistake again.
All right, great.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks, Ken.
guys.
Later,
Thanks,
dude.
Ken.
Bye.
Nice chatting with you.
Bye.
Good.
Cool.
I'm glad
It's
we
good
got him
beer.
on.
Yeah, good stuff, man. By the way, his Skype is I store beers in the shower. If you want to 6969.
He literally does.
420.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is nice.
All right, let's take a break.
All right.
Take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to drink an American brown ale, and we're going to do a whole bunch of cool stuff like that. It's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be, right back.
Now, back to the examination. Back to the examination.
All right, welcome back, everybody. About to fire up Skype again and get our buddy Jason on the line to talk about American barley wine.
American barley wine?
No.
American it as an American brown ale.
American brown ale,
If
dude.
it's an American barley wine, I'll have to revisit my scores
Yeah,
here.
you've been hiding some American barley wine from us, man?
Well, you know, that's what I do, man.
You got another bottle of that American brown ale?
American barley wine. Do I? No, I don't, actually. I think
This is
he...
it? Okay.
Yeah, he only sent 3, and so I sent you guys
We got
one
the less
home.
carbonated version we could taste.
Oh,
I
of
wanna do
the
that.
brown ale. Oh yeah, I got more of the brown ale, dude.
Bring on
Okay,
brown.
why is nobody accepting my invitations to chat or whatever, dude? I think I'm doing this wrong.
They don't like you.
Nobody, who would, to be completely honest? Let's just call Jason
Are you
right
logged
now.
in as your right
I
self?
don't know. I don't even log out of this, so we'll see.
Okay, I'll pour the less carbonated version while we're at it here.
I have
Light hiss.
I have more of the other one here. Jason, call me back, dude. Jason's unavailable. All right, I have
People named Jason, I tell you.
Dude, they are unreliable dickheads. Let me be completely honest. Baxter Smooth Brown Ale carbonated version number 2.
Okay.
You want that one?
Cool. I want to side by side them, yeah.
I don't think we have enough glasses for that.
I got a water glass. I just need to pound some water.
I don't have any water glass.
I'll finish my show beer and we'll just pour it in here.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't really necessarily need to. All right, Brian Cooper, go ahead and please start us off with. So clarify real quick for the listeners at home why we have 2 versions of the same beer.
Well, I guess Jason thought that his beer was not carbonated enough. Maybe he listened to us over and over talking about how beers are not carbonated enough when we get them, and they're not right, and it just falls flat because it lacks carbonation. And sorry, we had to give your beer.
Are you doing
20
a voice?
points because
Are you doing
no,
a voice?
Kind of.
Okay, I just wasn't
I
sure.
can do one for you. Your beer should be a little more carbonated when it comes to us because in a beer geek way. Okay, if you want to be a 10th level beer nerd, you need to be sure your carbonation is high.
See, now I don't know if Brian's doing a voice.
Yeah, who does?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay.
What is my real voice? Does anyone know?
No, this is the less carbonated. Okay, I got a big cup of the less carbonated here.
Oh, that's good news.
And then I'll open the carbonated, and I got you a glass.
Okay, so basically,
Let's hear the hiss. Put that up on the mic. Let's hear.
This-
Oh no, you missed letting us hear the hiss and the carbonation.
the story is that we just have 2 different carbonation versions of the same beer.
He fixed it, and he sent us more, and
Great.
it's fresher,
Thank you.
and therefore it's going to be better, so that's the one we judged.
Okay, Cooper, go ahead and go first, please.
All right. Now I'm tasting the less carbonated version, but I'll be reading my sheet for the more carbonated version. Is that weird?
Only if you look at it in the eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm smelling it in the nose. It doesn't seem very sweet, but it's pleasant and a lightly chocolatey malt nose comes up. You know what? I need to do the carbonated version.
Yeah, the less carbonated. I mean, it's basically
It doesn't pop.
lightly flat. I mean, it doesn't pop. It's almost more watery.
Jason was smart.
Yeah. So
Okay.
good job, Jason, for sending
Yeah,
us the second
Big
one.
difference.
Yeah,
Big
for
difference.
sure.
Here,
Yeah.
pour yourself some of the, Pour that and do the side by side. This is amazing. This is what we're talking about on this show. We're getting geeky on you.
This is how much carbonation actually matters on the
smelling this-
judging table.
The same
Yeah.
beer side by side, and it's a night and day difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, doesn't seem very sweet. Pleasant, lightly sweet, but chocolatey malt nose up front, and there's a low but fairly firm citrusy hop in there. It's medium low fruity esters, not super fruity, but just kind of in there, and seems like a nice ale ferment, pretty clean, no DMS or diacetyl. There's other malt undertones in there too, besides just like chocolatiness. It's not a one-trick pony per se. There's some light nuttiness in there as well, and a little kind of bread crustiness, and a little, light toast, light, caramel. Appearance-wise, it's a nice medium brown, very very clear, impressively clear, with a light tan head. The lights were dimmed earlier. Now it's a very light tan. Almost beige colored head. Thanks for bringing those lights up, Bevo.
It's always best to judge beer in as dark a room as possible.
Then you don't see the murkiness
Look,
and the weird
you
colored
guys,
head.
you guys seen that movie Inside Out? That's what it is in here. Okay,
You're
it's just
big
my
This is the control room, yeah.
yeah. I'm ding dong is what I am.
All right.
Bing bong.
We're judging
Yeah.
beer here. We need some light.
No, we don't.
Come on, you can't afford to pay the bill.
The only light you're going to see is my soul leaving my body.
Ow!
We can't judge
Are
beer
you
by
okay,
candlelight.
Jason?
No.
Do we need to stop the show? And have
No,
a
we're fine.
discussion,
Keep
or-
going, Brian. Keep
Candles
going.
are interfering with the
Let's go.
the aromas as well. I'm smelling your vanilla candles, and they're just not working for me.
I've been doing this for 36 minutes, and it's been the longest 36 minutes of my life.
Dear Lord.
Glad we can help.
So the head really sticks around quite nicely.
It really does.
It's creamy in texture and thick, and nicely done. The head and the other examples actually sticking around pretty well too. So that's although I'm looking at yours, and yeah, there is a difference there. It's falling flat
Yeah.
more quickly on the other one. It's easily aroused. So yeah, nice job on the appearance. Three of three. Flavor wise, this is a pretty rich malty beer, medium low chocolate, but not very sweet. It finishes medium to medium dry, I would say, in that range. And it's okay for style. It doesn't have to be super sweet. It can be pretty dry too. There's a range that's allowed there. It can be sweet or dry almost. You can get away with a lot there, but depends on how you want it to express itself and what you're trying to do. The balance is definitely to the malt, and has a low earthy citrusy hop, medium low bitterness, which is out of the way, and very clean fermentation. Not getting any water distractions here. No minerality, if that's a word. No obvious flaws at all, really. It's just a nice, clean ale. It's chocolate and toast and a light nuttiness lingering in the aftertaste. Just kind of sticks around, and then the CO2 is helping to push that. I'm going to check the aftertaste on this other beer because I think that's something that carbonation is going to affect a lot, too. So the other one, it's also a little more aged in the bottle, so it does fall flat a little faster. Mouthfeel-wise, it's medium-bodied, no warming noted, medium-high carbonation, as should be pretty carbonated, somewhat smooth, not really creamy per se, but there's also no stringency here either. So just a nice kind of middle-of-the-road smooth beer. Feel it on the tongue. It's not too prickly despite the fairly high carbonation, and it's not warming or biting your tongue in any way. It's just nice and smooth. It goes down easy. Overall, this is nice, very pleasant drinking American brown ale.
Yeah.
I would say it's not on the overhopped side of the style, but also not on the there's a sweeter side, and there's kind of like the hey, we're America, we're gonna need to hop everything up too much, and I won't name any names of beers that have that kind of characteristic, and kind of border on the style of maybe a brown IPA kind of thing. But this one just kind of hits all the marks for the style and is quite well balanced for what it is. Maybe searching a little bit for personality. Like, is it the sweet kind? Is it the hoppy kind? It's kind of the middle of the road.
Yeah. No.
But it has a nice malt complexity to it. You could use even a little bit more though. It's like mostly the chocolate and a little bit of breadiness. You could bring up some other malts to make it just a little more interesting, but you don't really need to do that either. So
Don't touch it.
I give it a 40. I thought it was a very pleasant beer.
Yeah, don't touch it at all, Jason. If you touch this beer, I will know, and God will strike you dead.
Don't hop it up, especially.
Don't ever hop it. I mean, you could funk with it a little bit with a little bit more IBUs, maybe like
aroma
5,
hop?
maybe, yeah, a little aroma hop, maybe like some Huel melon or something just like weird and off the cuff, but
Sure.
it's a great beer. Brian Shar.
Don't say the beer gods are going to strike him down and then tell him to add more IBUs.
I didn't say the
That's
beer
just-
gods. I said literally God.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
But Buddha will stop him, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's true. So what's interesting is, like Brian was saying, this beer, I think there's a 10-point difference between the less carbed and the higher carb version of this beer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the pH from having that additional carbonic acid, if it's just the mouthfeel aspect of having it not just be limp on the tongue. But the flavors are similar, but it's a significantly different. It's crisper, it's brighter, it's more perky. I want to drink more of the highly carbonated one, where the less carbonated one is like, okay, I had a sip. I'm not sure I want really a lot more.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I'd go 10 points, but maybe 5 to 7. It's a pretty big difference.
Okay, maybe 8, 7, 8. We'll maybe agree. We can both agree on 7 is the overlapping number there.
Sure.
I thought this was a really nice beer. Low malts in the aroma, low floral hops that complement and don't clash with the dark malt. Good choice of malts, actually. It's really hard with darker beers sometimes to do hop selection. And I don't know, when the brown IPA kind of came into vogue a few years ago, people used a lot of C hops with the dark malts, and they just totally clash. Cascade, Centennial, Columbus, in my mind, none of those work very well with dark malts. So whatever your hop choice is here, it seems more British to me. It really complemented the dark malt, so good job. Low esters, kind of like a British fermentation character, kind of that vinous / maybe slightly woody character you get from British ale yeast. Malt definitely comes through stronger than the hops and the aroma, though. Gave it 9 out of 12. Appearance, 3 out of 3. There's a big heroic head that just doesn't want to go away. Color, this beer is dark brown with some ruby tint in it. Ivory head, it's crystal clear, really well done. Flavor, initially I get sort of a toasty dark malt and chocolate with some British ale fermentation esters, like a vinous grape, slightly woody character to them that you get with like the more traditional British yeast. Really well attenuated. Balance is slightly to the malt. Finish is long and malt focused. 14 out of 20 on flavor. Mouthfeel. Carbonation is definitely higher than the lower carbonation one. I'd still put it in the medium-low level, but I think it's appropriate for this beer where it is. Maybe medium is where I should end up landing in the low, medium to high spectrum. But it's definitely more what I would want to experience for a mouthfeel from this beer than the lower carbonated version of this. Mouthfeel is kind of medium-low, no warming, which you wouldn't want from a beer of this style anyway. Creamy, gave it 5 out of 5. Overall impressions, 7 out of 10. I think it's flavorful and well-made. It might be just a little bit on the British side of a brown ale to me. So I do get some sort of, and this is nitpicking. So overall score is 38, which is I think a good score. It's a really good beer. I like it a lot.
It's technically very good.
Yes, exactly. What's the excellent? Actually, technically is excellent.
Oh
Jason.
shit! Sorry.
Just an excellent score.
I'll never downgrade you again.
So I'm picking nits here, but I get some of that. I personally get some of that British ale fermentation character out of this, and as an American brown ale, I'm curious to chat with you about what yeast you used. If you used like a Cal Ale, I retract my comments, and I'm an idiot. If you used more of a London Ale type yeast, I might
then
suggest
you're the
next
idiot.
time. No one's an idiot. It's just I would use more of an American. It doesn't have to be Cal Ale. It can be 20 kinds of American ale yeast you can use.
Yeah.
I might suggest more of a neutral American kind. But I really like this beer. I think it's really well made. And again, like the last one, I would sit at the bar here at the Grenade and have like 2 or 3 of these and be really happy.
Not be able to drive home.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see.
Drive me home, Brian.
I mean, I see what you mean about maybe it leans a little more English because it isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't. American beers tend to just be a little more obtuse, a little more pokey. And English beers tend to be a little more smooth, and this kind of is a little more smooth with that. So I see what you're saying, and maybe that's why I like it so much. Because American brown ales usually across the board kind of suck. Like they're either overly sweet or overly bitter, overly hoppy, and they all kind of. I mean, the only American brown ale worth drinking, honestly, is Moose Drool. Everything else is kind of just blah and weird,
or too sweet, or too cloying.
So this to me is a great beer. If I could have this at my house on the reg, I would drink less Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Yeah,
Jason's going to give us his recipe.
And I would also, and on the spectrum, if there's American brown is a 1 and English brown is a 10, I'd still put this
Okay.
around like a 5 or under 5. I wouldn't say this is all the way into the English side,
Yeah.
but it's not a 1 like this is super American.
No, and I would agree with you, and I would venture to guess that's probably why Jason entered it in our little show as an American brown, because it is sort of riding the line between the two. It's not quite English, but not quite American, so I think he just threw a dart.
Cool.
That'd be my estimate. I don't know.
Well done either way.
Well, yeah, and it's a beer style that can have some of the flavor characteristics of the style that are listed in the guidelines are English style kind of characters, especially in the malt. It can have a little nuttiness to it,
Right.
have some caramel,
Just like Brian Shaw.
richness.
A little nuttiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little
Little
nuttiness,
caramel.
little richness.
But definitely the carbonation does make it a lot more perky.
Yeah.
And I like a nice MLT. It's nice and perky.
What's an MLT?
Mutton, lettuce, and tomato sandwich.
Well, the mutton is
When
real
the mutton
lean.
is nice and lean.
Yeah.
The fuck are you guys
So
talking
pretty.
about?
Sorry, it's a Princess Bride quote.
Oh.
How do you not know this, Jason? What?
Smoke weed about it.
There's
eh?
nothing better than true love, except a nice MLT.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, man.
Dude, if you're gonna feel so, you need to go home and watch Princess Bride.
Miracle
You will
Max.
feel so much better about your life
This is
and
the
everything.
last, this
You
is
know
the
what we're
last
doing
thing I
after the
need to
show,
do.
JP?
Yeah, going
We're
our
all going to
separate
your
ways.
house and watching Princess Bride. That's what we're gonna do.
You guys are going to drive 35 minutes out of your way to watch watch me
Yes.
fall asleep on the
Hell
couch watching
yeah.
Princess Bride?
We are.
I don't know about that.
Anyway.
All right, well, very good. Jason, I'm sorry we couldn't connect with you, boy. Boy. I'm sorry about that, but we'll get you on the flip, dude.
I wanted to ask him about his homebrew club. I always
Yeah.
do that. I wanted to
I
hear
know
about
you
his
do.
club.
Yeah,
That's my thing.
It is your thing. That is you're the club. You're the club thing guy.
I've been deprived of my thing, Jason. You got to email us and tell us what your club is,
Please
and
do.
give us a shout out.
Please
for your
do
club.
that. All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to wrap some stuff up, and then we're going to get out of here, unless you're listening live, in which case you'll be trapped here with me.
Just don't believe you. sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, we're going to call Jason here real fast. Apparently, I screwed up.
You committed some Dr. Homebrew malpractice?
Again, yeah.
Does your
apparently.
policy cover that? Or does our policy, oh my God, does our policy cover that? Do we have a policy?
I don't know. I think we have a duck here that talks. I think it's the same shit, right?
Aflac. Oops, do we have to cut that out later?
Maybe. We should probably have to cut it out on principle.
Yeah,
Cut
probably 'cause it was
everything
just
out.
not
And actually,
funny.
yeah, just play the commercials because those are the only interesting part.
Yeah, bro, just play the interview with the guest.
Yeah.
Just have Ken and Jason sound like edit like they're talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fine. All right, well, see,
cool.
he's not even answering anyway, so
He's not on his phone.
Okay.
good job.
Oh, man.
Good job, Jason. All right. Well, let's get out of here then,
He's a
everybody.
Jason. Wow. We liked this beer a lot.
Yeah, it was
Like
good
that,
stuff.
Like, these
It
guys
was
brought their
good.
A game. This was a great show for beer.
I wanted
It really
to hear
was.
about
A
your
great
yeast.
moment for mankind.
That's true.
Jason, if you want to email us what yeast you used for this, I'd be really curious. If you don't, that's cool. And enjoy the show in a couple of weeks. Thanks for sending your beer in.
There you go. All right, everybody, if you're listening live for whatever reason, give us about 15, 20 minutes to gather our purse and our pearls, and we'll be back on the air. And then if not, just go ahead and find another show to listen to on the Brewing Network. There's a bunch of them. I'm sure they're all great, but none is better than Dr. Homebrew because this is really where you get all of your information. Everything else is just fun, but this is, it's like everything else is icing on the cake, but really what you want is the cake, right?
And where else do you have
No,
two
wait, other way
brides?
around.
The icing on the beer.
Other way around. Everything else is the cake, and we're the icing because that's really what you want. You want to scrape your finger along the icing and taste it. Scrape your finger along us, and well, you get the
Taste
hint.
us,
Do
yeah.
you want cake, Jason? We can get you
I hate cake. Cake
Okay.
is fucking gross, by the way. Pie is the best dessert, and cheeses, but pie.
But tiki drink?
Well, I mean, that's every day. I have
We could
that for
talk for an
breakfast.
hour about this, but we shouldn't.
No. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. This has been Dr. Homebrew, and you've been great. Good night.
How could the wise man build his house on the sand? Where on the sand
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Hey, it's Dr. Homebrew. It's Dr. Homebrew, everybody. Calm down. Everyone relax. Everyone calm down. It's only Dr. Homebrew.
Family beer
No,
physician.
thank God
It's
I
fine.
can relax.
Everything's okay. Everything's fine. We're here now. We're going to drink your beer, and we're going to tell you how good it was.
You
And
take
then-
your vital signs, too, which might not like that as much.
It's true. Well, or you might. You never know. And that's how it works here. We have two beers for you today. One is a Kentucky Common,
Kentucky Common.
which I don't really necessarily want to go into that guidelines yet. And then the other one is another Bell's Two-Hearted clone. Oddly enough, we just had one a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
What?
We did a show
Yeah.
with the Bell's clone.
So I'm pretty excited about that. That's it's not often you get this trend of clone beers. Let me drink this tasty water first.
But this is Bell's official. So, as you will recall from a few shows ago, we were at HomebrewCon, and Bell's was there with us, hanging out.
That's right.
The founders,
Not
like
me,
the
but-
big wigs, the honchos.
That was really
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
That
I'm
was,
terrible with
that was
names,
a super
so
fun
yeah,
show.
but-
John Mallett.
John.
John
And then
Mallett.
Yeah, it was
and
really
a-
fun
a
to
few of his-
finally meet John Mav. I've read so much. I read his book. Didn't he write the book on malt?
I don't know.
I swear he wrote the Brewers Association malt book. Brian's going to look it up. He's such a nice guy. And just the Bell's folks were so nice and just such cool people. It was really, I remember going to the actual Bell's location in Kalamazoo, and God, it had to have been 10, 15 years ago with my ex-wife.
Yeah.
And it's such a great time. It was just the selection of beers and just the way the place is set up. I mean, Bell's has been just one of the premier Midwestern places for forever. And it was such a treat to get to go, 2005-ish. We had such a blast. And to meet the Bell's people in person was really, really a lot of fun.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have everything but the malt book here. I have the hops book. I have the water book. the yeast book. But it is John Mellett.
He must have written them all.
Well, see, there you go.
I have that book. It's a great book.
Awesome.
I need to carry that.
Well, and what were you saying, Brian? That Bell's gave the kits away, right?
And they offered to kick out some
jams,
some Bell's official Too Hard to Ale clone kits to our listeners and friends, and let some people brew it so we can taste them. So
right, because they have a homebrew store in addition to a brewery, because they're keeping their roots. Right, they came out of like the homebrew ethos, so they have a brewery and a brew pub. And they also have a homebrew store even now, which is really cool.
Right.
Yeah, why not?
It started as a homebrew shop, I guess, and then people demanded their beers, and it turned into a little thing. So pretty cool.
Okay, and so we have a kit from one of those.
Yeah. You can order them from Bell's. Bell's General Store. And
I love
they
it.
were at Homebrew Con. Really nice folks there working there, and a lot of fun.
That's cool. And I think we're having a couple more of these come down the pipeline right as they're ready. Yeah.
So some of the guys from Doe's, some of my friends from the Madzheimergists are brewing these, and the first one will be from my friend Jeff, who was at Homebrew Con with us on that show that we talked about. So
Very good. Well, we also don't want to forget our fine sponsor, 5 Star Chemicals. You can go to 5starchemicals.com and learn about every way possible to make better beer, which is to clean and sanitize. That's it. That's the foundations. Everything else is just icing on the cake of our something or other, right? That's what we figured out?
Wait.
This is 2 shows in a row with cake, Jason.
You can't clean and sanitize in one step.
No, you can't do it.
Don't tell me you can't do that.
You can't do it. You can't do it. Look, don't let me tell you. Go to 5starchemicals.com and let them tell you.
They just want to sell you 2 chemicals, though, right?
They want to
playing the devil's advocate here.
They want to, in as much as a car salesman wants to sell you 4 wheels,
because it actually works and gets you down the road.
Because you need to.
Otherwise, it would be called 1 Star Chemicals for obvious reasons.
All right, I'm going to do something very weird.
Take off your clothes and run around the studio in circles?
No, weird. Yeah. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to speak with, who are we talking to? Keith?
Keith.
Yeah. Kevin.
No, Kevin.
Kevin. Same thing.
Yeah. Keith, Kevin.
Keith, Kevin, Kyle. Ish. Let's just call him Kyle. Throwbacks.
For the past right there.
All right, everybody, hang on. We'll be right back, I promise. I swear to God.
Now, back to the examination.
There we go. See, it wasn't that long at all.
You online listeners?
Yeah, you guys are panicking.
Where's my 3-minute song?
For no reason.
Everybody who downloaded it got to listen to 16 commercials, probably.
I hope so. That would be great.
I'm Ted Danson telling you why you should buy Smirnoff Ice.
You sound some app or some garbage like that. You're in for a real treat. Shut up, Ted.
It's like 15 seconds. They paid me to tell you in 15 seconds to drink Smirnoff Ice. So drink Smirnoff Ice.
You were married to Whoopi Goldberg. What do you know?
I think Whoopi Goldberg's pretty cool, and frankly, I always thought she was a little hot.
Wow.
I'm serious.
Wow.
She was Guinan on Star Trek: The Next Generation. How can she not be hot?
Look,
she makes a nice THC butter thing, I guess, too, like a chocolate.
Oh, really?
For treating
Anything?
kind of things.
You're not.
I like how
turning
you
me
said
off
that
a
in
little
hushed
bit here.
tones.
Tried it.
You said that in hushed tones. A woman's period.
Women's problems, THC.
Okay.
Yeah, THC is good for curing a
Oh,
woman's period.
Lord,
Okay.
I quit.
I'm not a woman. I don't know about women's problems.
My
It's
wife
up to
doesn't
her.
listen to this show. It's okay.
All right, well, I've tried both of Kevin's contacts, and he's not getting... Oh, he's typing. So let's start that now. And we're going to get Kevin right on the line
Is he
here.
typing you a poop emoji? He's typing you a poop emoji, isn't
I
he?
wish he was. I wish he would, to be honest with you. I think that'd be amazing. Kevin, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much. How are you guys?
Pretty good, pretty good. We're just pouring your beer
It's
right
definitely
now.
not Kevin Smith.
No.
Thanks for sending us beer, man. I appreciate it. How old is this beer? When was it brewed?
I brewed this one June 23rd, so
Okay,
month and a half.
that's pretty young, yeah.
He
Have you
bottled it July 20th.
have you made a Kentucky Common before?
This is my second go on it. I
Okay.
just tweaked the recipe a little bit. And
Are
see
you
what-
from Kentucky?
I am not. My brother lived in Nashville and spent some time in Kentucky while he was out there, but no particular connection.
You're nearish to there though, right? You're on the Central Time Zone.
I am.
Yeah.
Just outside Kansas City.
You're just trying to figure stuff out. I appreciate that. That's good
How
stuff.
long have you been brewing?
I probably started about 2004, but got more serious in the last 4 or 5 years, probably.
Yeah, the old slow climb. I feel you. I feel you on
Not the
that.
fast burn and the decline to nothing like me.
Yeah, or
No.
me. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I brewed, man. It's disappointing.
Are you in a homebrew club?
I am. ZZ Hops. out here.
That's funny. Where are you? Where's that club based out of?
Just east side of Kansas City, so we're sort of Lee Summit, Raytown area.
Very cool. That sounds great.
Excellent. All right, Brian Shar, I'm going to let you go first for a second time.
Whoa, what an honor. This is great.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You're
then
welcome.
Brian Cooper can give his second opinion
It's true.
as far as Doctor's Homebrew go. I really like this beer. You know, I swear I've had a Kentucky Common before, but it was forgettable. This was really interesting. Thank you for sending this, because it's a style that I don't have a lot of experience with, and I kind of want to go seek these out now. Aroma was 9 out of 12. Had a low toasty dark malt character, low caramel, no hop aroma. That's okay in this style. No off aromas, no diacetyl or DMS. Didn't get any obvious corn, and did get sort of a low berry / grape ester. Appearance 3 out of 3. Colors light brown or copper. It's right on that border. Crystal clear. The head is low but very persistent, so very, very nice appearance. Flavor, initially the flavor is caramel and toasty dark malt. Some low bitterness comes up to just balance, kind of in mid-palate. The balance is a little toward the malt. The bitterness never quite gets up to the malt, and that's okay. I like the flavor the way it is, with the bitterness being in a sort of a supporting role here. It's well attenuated. Finish is long and malt focused. Corn isn't really noticeable, but it's not supposed to be. And after Brian and I have reviewed this, I'm definitely curious to find out what your malt bill was if you had done this all grain, and how much, if any, corn you put in. So we'll talk about that later on. Flavor, 15 out of 20. Mouthfeel, 4 out of 5. Body's low. I knocked at one point because carbonation was a little on the low side. This is a style that, from my extensive reading of the guidelines just 20 minutes ago, like I'm some sort of authority on this.
Right.
This is kind of like California Common in the sense that it was brewed quickly, served quickly, kind of fermented in the serving vessel, which was the time a barrel. So the thing would build up really high carbonation. This doesn't have to be like a Belgian triple where you have to have like a thick bottle and you're having 4 volumes in here and you're in danger of the thing exploding. But a little more carbonation, I think, would have been welcome in this beer. There's no warming, which it shouldn't have. No astringency, so that's fine. Overall impression, 8 out of 10. It's a really tasty beer. Of a style that I really haven't drank a lot of and really would like to drink more of. Frankly, I've said this for the last 2 beers of the shows we've recorded. We've been very fortunate. I would drink several of these. I would pay money for one of these. It's a great great flavor. It's proof that a beer doesn't have to be 10% to have a lot of flavor and a lot of complexity and a lot of character. It's flavorful and interesting. Again, the biggest complaint I had, more carbonation, would have really, I think, improved this beer somewhat. I gave this 39 out of 50 overall, so that is an excellent score, Jason.
Whoa.
I thought it was an excellent beer, and I will drink some more while Brian Cooper talks about how he scored this.
Yeah, this is definitely very good beer.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this. I appreciate this beer. Go ahead, Brian Cooper, please, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, so for those that don't know, the beer, Kentucky Common, is overall it's a darker colored, light flavored, malt accented beer with a dry finish and just interesting character malt flavors.
Would it be fair to say, like, to me, it's sort of reminiscent of an amber ale?
A little bit.
But lighter body.
But like sessionable. It's refreshing with the high carbonation and the mild flavors. Highly sessionable due to being served very fresh and with restrained alcohol levels.
Yeah.
The
That's just the
call
overall
it like
impression.
a cream ale with dark malt.
There's a lot of history about it. If you're interested, go to 27B in the BJCP guidelines and read that history there. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of based out of Louisville, Kentucky area. And, spread from there and then died out. And now homebrewers are reviving it. And it's, just one of those interesting styles that's had a life of its own over the years. For the last 100 years pretty much, and now it's come back. So in the nose I get a low clean malt, notes of biscuit and light caramel. I feel like I got a hint of chocolate in the nose.
I get like a pale chocolate
like a
thing
pale
coming
chocolate.
through.
And to me that seemed a little out of place because it's not necessarily supposed to be there. Nothing in the guidelines screams chocolate.
I get it more in the flavor.
They can lean towards the darker side, and this one's kind of like middle of the road for color, so it wasn't like a darker version. So it seemed a little odd to me, but again, not a big deal. It's no DMS, no diacetyl, just nice and clean, and pretty light overall. But although that said, it's a light beer, but there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of malt aromas in there, so the complexity is actually pretty nice. There's a faint sweetness to it, but not overpowering at all. Just a low floral hop. Fruity esters are kind of backgroundy. It's an inviting aroma. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Let's take a sip of this, or let's look at it first. So it's a semi-dark amber and very clear, creamy off-white head of very fine bubbles. Persists quite well. I actually gave it full points for appearance, 3 out of 3. Flavor-wise, medium maltiness up front. And here I'm getting notes of like a dark bread crust-like with low caramel. I'm not getting the chocolateness here, so I'm like maybe just kind of off my rocker in the nose, and something is reminding me of chocolatey, pale chocolate.
I get it in the flavor. I don't get it in the nose so much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm the reverse of you.
I revised my...
get more in the nose and less in the flavor, but...
Yeah.
The beer finishes pretty dry, and as it should. The balance is to the malt. Cleanly fermented ale. It's slightly fruity. Very low bitterness out of the way. Very light floral hop flavors. And just that nice bread crustiness kind of comes out in the aftertaste, and it sticks around for a good while. For such a light beer, it really does have a lot of flavor and a lot going on for it here. And mouthfeel-wise, it feels maybe bigger than it really is. I think maybe the classic mistake in some of these would make them just too light. If you don't want it to taste like water. You want to have something there. It needs to be malty enough and substantial enough and have enough carbonation to drive a lot of flavor and keep it interesting. So there's no astringency here. It's nice and creamy, smooth, soft as it should be. Medium high carbonation. You could use a touch more here. No alcohol warmth, of course. Overall, it's just a pleasant drinking Kentucky Common. Great appearance, excellent flavor for the style. I really like the flavor. I rated that higher than, say, the aroma and the mouthfeel. The flavor is just on point, and the aroma, like, oh, what is that going on? The question I had, too, was, I don't know, there ain't much corn here. it should have kind of a corny presentation, as I think Brian talked about a little bit. But I'm not getting a lot of corn here. It's like kind of a grainy corn-like note that's not coming out. But it's really interesting for what it is, and maybe it is expressing itself more like an amber ale in a way, like a light amber ale light. But it's a really nice beer. I don't want to knock on it because it's just like maybe it's a new style. I don't know. And Kentuckies have there's a range to them, of course, like a lot of beers, and it is fairly refreshing. But I think pushing up the CO2 a little bit is going to make it a little more refreshing and make it pop a little bit more. The malt flavors and aromas actually come across quite strongly here. So it's interesting for such a light beer. It's really expressive as it is, and a little more carbonation is going to drive some of that even a little bit more. So then you may be able to even back off a touch on some of that, especially even the darkest malts. Just pull it up a little bit and maybe find a way to push up the corn-like notes. Or maybe the corn may just come through and it'll, lighten up the body a little bit if you do back off on some of those malts. So, but still, just a very good job. It was hard to score this beer a little bit, but I gave it a 36. I thought it was a very good Kentucky Common and an interesting way to express that style. I also don't have extensive experience in it. One of my local breweries, Shadow Puppet in Livermore, brews a Kentucky Common and have some fun with that. So I guess a very popular beer of theirs. Especially early on until they put out a hazy IPA, but that's their
until they shit themselves with a hazy IPA. Well, Kevin, hey man, why don't we get the recipe from you, sure. if you wouldn't mind, and maybe we can just start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I tried to nod towards the historical as much as I could, but you guys were on point with the pale chocolate. I snuck a little bit of that in there. All right, so it was about 63% two-row. 20% flaked corn and 10% 6-row with about 5% pale chocolate, 2% crystal 40, and then just a few ounces of Carafa 2 for color. The first time I brewed it, I had a little bit more Carafa 2 for color, and I just thought it was a little too roasty, so I backed it off on this one. And now I'm thinking maybe I could have used a little bit more roast, but anyway,
I think you were fine. I think more roast would have put this maybe out of style.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking that maybe the pale chocolate potentially hides some of the corn, I wouldn't put more roast in it either.
Pale chocolate to me was, Brian, I don't think liked it as much as I did, but I thought that pale chocolate was perfect.
No, I loved it. I would actually take a skosh more, but I'm in love with pale chocolate. If I could marry pale chocolate, I would do it.
But the style doesn't call for chocolate.
No, it doesn't. You're absolutely right.
I would back it off a little bit, about half. Well, maybe still use it as your secret weapon, but it's just obvious to two of us here in the room and jumping out. So it's such a light beer. There's not much to hide behind. So just lighten it up a touch. Like, here's my secret weapon.
Well, I guess we have to figure out, Kevin, what do you want out of this? Do you just want a better drinking beer, or do you want it to style to enter a competition?
So more the latter, and it's so difficult to judge. I judged one, loved it, and that's why I started brewing it.
Nice.
But there's not really a lot of recipes to riff off of, and so
what Cooper's saying is 100% accurate. Back off the pale chocolate, let some of that corn come through,
maybe even bump up the corn a little bit, or like use multiple corn sources. Use some corn in your mash and do some more more flaked corn, and just just mix it up.
Sure. Yeah, and then the rest of the recipe is pretty straightforward. It's just a little over 1.5 ounces of cluster at like 20 minutes, and then a half ounce of Saaz at Flame Out Whirlpool.
Yeah. Did you do a cereal mash, or did you actually just use flaked corn?
I just used flaked corn.
Yeah. I mean, you can consider doing a cereal mash and do it like old school style. That might be a different way it'll come across. You can still use some flake corn in it too, like I said. So you get both best of both worlds, but. I think just cooking that corn material and combining it with your mash, once you've gelatinized all the starches in that, and do you use 6-row barley?
I did. I had about 10% 6-row.
Okay, that's
2-row.
Yeah. No, that's the way to go. And that's the 6-row has more enzyme. It's going to convert the corn starches and get it. You can get up to even 25-30% corn. With some of the old school beer recipes, and I don't know what they did back in the early 20s and and thereabouts. So or the early, whenever they started, these early 1900s, I meant to say.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, the guidelines, I swear, said like 35%. And I think that part of part of what we discussed a little bit before the show is one of the reasons you want to have these dark malts, I think, was to, A, adjust the acidity of the water, but B, you're kind of covering up some of the corn, was my guess. I'm not a historian.
Right.
My guess is that was, somebody wanted German brewers wanted like a Schwarzbier type flavor, and realized they could cover up that American corn with
corn's cheap, but we got to make this thing taste good somehow, guys.
Exactly. So to me, the guidelines talk about a corn aroma, but don't require a corn flavor. And that kind of tells me that part of what the dark malt is supposed to do is cover up some of the corn. But there's this kind of high wire act here about how much corn do you really want, and I think you want to have some corn character in some way, but it's not as corny as a cream ale. I mean, am I making sense, Brian? You're kind of looking at me like I'm a little committing homebrew malpractice here.
No, I mean, it's interesting to speculate as to how the style developed, and not a lot is known about. There's people that think, it would have been a sour beer. They probably did a sour mash, and it's like, no, it's not supposed to be a sour beer. No. You look at all the brewing records from breweries in the turn of the century, there's no long acid rest, no sour mashing, no extensive conditioning. They drank it fresh. They didn't let it sour. So, this is right. Some people will make the mistake of souring it, and this one is in the right territory. It's not, it's got a lot of interesting malt flavors. It's light, and it's really drinkable. So, it's really fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Thanks for sharing it. Keep working on that one.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Do you have any questions, Kevin, by the way?
No, I think you guys gave me a little bit
Hell yeah.
of direction to go there. I think I'm just
We should try to give a little bit.
Yeah. Couple of gentle nudges, both in our bathing suits, so it's not weird, but just a little.
I always encourage people to send us the same beer again, and then we'll review this show and see if what we told you made sense, and then oh God, what we told you made this beer horrible. Go back to what you did before.
Yeah, half of that's correct.
Awesome.
We encourage people to send in beer. Anyway, all right, Kevin. Well, hey, man, brew the beer again, and if you want to send it in, that'd be great.
Awesome. Will do.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Thanks, Kevin.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Bye. Bye. I mean, I ain't trying to listen to the show again, dude. You crazy?
I'm glad he shared
Yeah.
that. That was actually really tasty. I enjoyed that a lot.
Well, I have a feeling we'll be talking to Kevin again anyway, so.
Same.
That sounds ominous or awesome. Which one could that be?
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to drink some Bell's Two Hearted and,
Not a Catarina Sour.
Not a Catarina Sour, no. Although,
time.
maybe. We'll see.
Rumor.
Hang on. It's Dr. Homebrew.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Brian is finishing up some last-minute adjustments here about how we're going to be pouring some
Bevo to pour us anonymized
beverages. Yeah,
This is going to be super exciting and fun. I'm really excited about this.
yeah, it'll be a good time for sure.
I was excited when I went to visit my friend Jeff, and he handed me 2 beers that looked about the same color and said, "Here, taste these."
I was excited when we were at HomebrewCon, and you and Jeff had recommended going to the Hot Wiener place around the corner from the BN
Hey,
party.
give me Jeff's information again, please, so I can punch him into Skype.
Yes, sir, I will.
Thank
So
you very
while
much.
they're doing this, at HomebrewCon, there's Rhode Island, for being like 20 by 20 miles at the smallest state, has more regional food than like any other state. And there's the stuff.
Yeah, we've already talked about hot wieners,
talked about hot
Brian.
wieners?
Yeah,
Did we?
what
Yeah.
the fuck's wrong with you, dude?
Because I love hot wieners. I would eat some
Always
right now if they
talking
were
about
available.
wieners.
I always
Just
talk
really
about
need
wieners,
to talk about them.
especially hot wieners.
So, what are we doing here, Brian? What are these anonymized beers we're talking about?
So we have the Bell's Two-Hearted Ale clone kit that a friend of mine brewed, and then we have actual Bell's Two-Hearted Ale.
Okay.
And we haven't judged these yet, so they're just going to be presented anonymously live to us, and only Bevo knows which one is the homebrew and which one is the
I don't think we need to
commercial beer.
necessarily judge them. I think we can just talk about how accurate they are,
Right.
and then maybe just do a score on the fly. It's sort of like a commercial calibration. Jeff, what's up, dude?
Yo.
How's it going, man?
Hey. Did you take
Super fantastic. Thank you for asking. I hope you're having a pleasant evening.
No, it sucks. I want to die.
It's an awesome evening.
Yeah.
So if we balance out sucks and awesome, does that become pleasant?
No, it becomes slightly annoying.
Finn misses the beach, dude. We had a lot of fun down there. Thanks for I hand carried this homebrew up and the commercial beer up from Santa Barbara, and we still miss the beach. It's a lot of fun.
Well,
down
there you go.
Did you literally hold the bottles in your hands while like your wife drove?
That's probably why they're so warm.
Oh.
Yeah, he didn't want to tell you, Jeff, but he's like, dude, these are like 150 degrees. Like, he put them in the oven on warm.
I kept them in my I put them in my car all day today, but inside a bag cooler, so they might be a little warm coming out. But there was
It'll
ice
be all
packs
right.
in there.
It'll be all right.
They feel cool.
Livermore is only
Yeah.
100, right?
Jeff, when was the last time you brewed with a kit, like a homebrew kit? It's got to be like a weird flashback for you, right?
Yeah. No, that's a long. Hell, I don't even know.
Long, arduous journey since then.
Over 10 years?
You know what? Maybe the last time I did something was I ordered a Russian River consecration kit.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
How'd that
for
turn
more
out?
beer, just so I could get some of the wood. You know, you got to get some wood.
You got to do
You
it.
got to get wood. How did that consecration turn out?
Pretty damn tasty.
Nice.
I should say. Yeah.
So we're all
need a
just kind of
bottle
hanging
of
out
it.
here
Right.
thinking about getting wood, I think.
They send you a piece of wood with those consecration ale clone kits, though. It's nice. From the
true.
barrels, from the actual
Yeah.
consecration barrels.
That is
So,
really cool.
how did this kit work out for you, Jeff, as far as, other kits you've used? And just take us through a little bit about your brew day with a kit receding a little bit into your homebrew experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first it was amazing because it was free, so there's that.
Well, right.
Right. So yeah, they were super cool to provide a kit at HomebrewCon.
Nice.
And so they quickly got it out, which was cool. The thing I guess that I've noticed, and we'll let the judges be the judge, but the thing that I noticed was that it's sort of up to you to screw this up.
Sure.
Because you've got their hops, you've got their yeast, their
Yeah.
house yeast.
Yeah.
And so, it's really just up to you to screw it up at that point. I think there's probably some water situation you could deal with. But otherwise, the kit's pretty simple.
Sure.
And yeah.
Okay. And then
it was good.
how did you get the two-hearted? Because you can't really get that out here, right?
Well, I'm in a unique situation down in Santa Barbara where we can get it.
Oh, but not necessarily properly.
No, you can get it at the store. So
yeah, okay.
I'm in
All right.
essentially Southern California. So I'm in like the best of the best. I can get Russian River and Bells. So
What?
Yeah, and thinking about it now, like I've seen Bell's Two Hearted on tap every once in a while up here too. So yeah, I guess it is. It's not the shady black market. It's legit whenever they want to send it out, I suppose.
So you can actually go to store.bellsbeer.com right now and order one of these if you want. They also have the official, which is their hazy IPA. I'm just giving them a free plug because they were so cool to come on the show.
They were really
John
cool.
and everybody that came on were just super cool people.
Yeah.
And they gave me a free T-shirt from the Bell's homebrew store there. The nice little shop that started it all, I guess. So
Oh, that's cool.
God, I should have chatted those guys up more. I didn't get a t-shirt.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get one
So
either,
you can
Brian.
buy that, or it's the Bell's General Store online. You can just order one of these. We won't give it to you for free, but yeah.
All right. Well,
So
Ben
we've been given 2 beers.
is handing a beers to us now.
So there's one on the left and one on the right.
Cooper, why don't you go ahead and take us, just do a visual examination, please, and then Brian, you can,
Okay.
I guess chime in. I guess let's just do it like a commercial calibration, like I was saying, or
Maybe
just
march through the score sheet or something.
yeah,
I don't
we're
know
kind
which
of
one
just
was poured
walking.
first, but the one on the right was a little less has a little less head going on here, and the one on the right was poured first. Okay, so that it fell
Thank you.
maybe faster, and then the one on the left has a little bit more of a head there. They're very, very close to the same color. The one on the left is a little hazier.
Yes, maybe slightly lighter in color, but that might be the cloudiness. And it's not cloudy; it's be slightly cloudy.
So we're doing two
haze.
things here, right? We're trying to compare these, but we're also trying to pick which is the commercial and which is the homebrew.
Yeah. And I
Right. See,
already-
I'm a genius at that. I'm so good at that. I always get it right.
So you guys think we ought to just kind of march through the categories and at the end decide whether left or right is the clone versus the commercial?
Sure.
And we were talking about appearance. We're skipping ahead a little bit to appearance, and that's cool. But yeah, I
Yeah, we
totally
can flash
agree.
forward.
Left has more head, right has less head. Left is cloudier, right is crystal clear.
And Brian and I drank a lot of Bells at the Homebrew Conference. They were generous to sharing the Two Hearted and the official. They're hazy, and they were all excellent beers. They had
They had like a booth at Pro Night, which was great.
Damn.
Yeah, several different beers there, and they do a great job with everything they do.
Yeah, they do. And that's not just because they're doing this. I mean, I've loved Bell's for 20 years.
It's the number one beer. I think 2 or 3 years running now in the AHA's best beers of America. Beat
And
Pliny
you know
out.
what? I'm a fan of Expedition Stout, but I like stouts. So what can I say?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What about flavor?
What do you guys get? What are you guys getting in the nose? Back to the nose though. What do
Oh,
you get,
nose,
Brian?
okay.
Aroma. Let's think.
I mean, the one on the left definitely has a brighter aroma.
I might differ a little bit. I think it's the left. I get a little cardboard, and I get maybe a little more brightness on the right.
Interesting. Yeah, for me, the one on the right has that almost like circus peanut candied orange thing.
Does anyone get any light diacetyl in either of the beers?
On the one on the right, a little bit.
We'll have some
Brian?
dead air while I sniff things. Give me a
Sniff,
second.
sniff, sniff.
Yeah, I mean, the one on the left just, I'm getting hops.
Yeah.
The one on the right, I'm getting, like I said, some of that candied orange, a little bit of
Circus peanut.
butterscotch, and some malt come through. So the aroma is not really as powerful as it is on the one on the left.
It's pretty hoppy though.
I don't get diacetyl
Sure.
on either one. I get more citrus on the right.
Okay.
More of an orange peel.
Yeah, a little more
Maybe that's
dank,
that's what
maybe.
Jason's thinking about circus peanuts, but I get like a orange zest on the right one that I don't get on the left.
Okay.
I bet Jeff's probably going, I don't know which one you
Don't
guys are
get as
drinking
much.
either.
The one on the right, I would say,
this is a double blind. We don't know what we're smelling or drinking.
the body is prettier. It's got these nice orangey highlights to it. The head can be roused, and it's it's a pretty beer. It's brilliantly clear.
Frankly, Jason, I get more circus peanut out of the one on the left, which is fascinating.
The one on the left's cleared up a little bit, too.
Is there Anything?
Yeah, just clearing a little. Just
So
which we
flavor-wise,
expect.
any difference in the kind of minerally character? Of
I'm
the
so
water?
bad at that shit. I will let you guys tell me what to say. I'm so bad at that.
On the right one, I get a lot of. I get no mineral. I get a lot of citrus. I get some little bit of candy-like character, like Jason was talking about in the aroma.
Citrus and candy-like.
Citrus and candy-like character. On the left one, here I'll have some dead air while I sip this, or you can talk.
No, I'll go. Yeah.
Brian just sipped the beer.
Brian just sipped the beer, and now
Just
he's
sipped the
going to
beer.
comment.
I get more malt in the left one, a slight hint of cardboard. I get also citrus, but not quite. If citrus is like at a 5 or a 6 on the right, it's more of like a 2 or a 3 on the left.
So you would say the beer on the right seems fresher to you? Or
I think
I'm
so.
not leading,
well,
but yeah.
I would say
if you're saying
or at
cardboard
least,
in the
or
left,
at least less oxidized, right? It could be the one in the
Right.
left could be fresher, but it had exposed to more oxygen.
True,
But
yeah.
I get a little
It
more. I
couldn't
get
be-
some cardboard in the flavor as well as the aroma. It's not to the point of being undrinkable. It's just a little. It's like a hint of cardboard. That I get in that.
Now,
beer.
Jeff, do you have beers on the left and right of you as well? And have you organized them the same way as ours by accident?
I have not, because you took all of my Two Hearted Ale.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. So you're just drinking yours.
I'm just drinking mine, but I know which.
Yeah.
I am familiar enough with the beers to understand which ones you guys are talking about.
Okay. All right.
Give
Well,
us
that's
any
good.
hints.
And I come back to the flavor on the left, and I'm not sure if it's cardboard as much as it's the combination of the hops and the malt coming back to it, right? I mean, I tend to be really sensitive to oxidation, so I go to thinking cardboard maybe earlier than I should. But the more I sip this, the more I wonder if that's really cardboard.
Right. Okay, so beer style-wise, this is an American IPA.
No, that's cardboard.
That's cardboard.
At least a hint of it, at least a little bit.
Bell's 200 Ale is a classic example, commercial example of 21A American IPA, so you can read the style guidelines. So how about mouthfeel-wise? Where do you feel this is at? We should, an IPA should have a nice medium light to medium body, medium to medium high carbonation. I feel like the one on the left has a little more carbonation in this, at least.
I would agree.
The one on the right is a little flatter in this
and
example.
creamier.
Really? I would say the one on the right has more carbonation and less body. The one on the left has less carbonation and more body.
I keep looking over at Brian's beers to make sure that he's drinking the same order that we are,
Or
and
am I
he
having
is.
in-
And
yeah,
so
I am.
I don't understand. I think our Char is broken.
It wouldn't be the first time. You
No, I
might
think
want
the
to
one
turn
on
me
the left
off
is-
and turn me back on again.
And-
I'm not sure if I want to specify how to do that.
We might need an adapter.
Well, and just so I didn't mess them up, they're clear. There's the one with a white sticker on the bottom.
Mhm.
Oh,
Okay.
white stickers on the left.
Should be,
White
white
sticker.
sticker should be your
Beverly,
left
I
beer.
trust you, Beverly.
Non-sticker should be your right beer.
You're
Okay.
smart.
I
Beth.
trust you, Beth.
Yeah,
I've
we're
messed this
both.
up too many times to not have a
Thank you.
fail-safe.
I've
True.
listened to
So
the
smart.
session enough times to hear some of those, but no, I figure that I trust you.
And I'm usually on the receiving
Thank
end of
you.
that.
We don't want her to have to pour us out.
It's
No,
true.
that would be bad.
So that's my opinion. I think the one on the right's creamier, but I think it's
Yeah.
because of the lack of carbonation. But maybe it's also the little diacetyl that you get, like a little butterscotch. I forget.
butterscotch.
Remind me.
I'm
Is there a
feeling-
difference between
Yeah.
diacetyl and butterscotch?
Diacetyl can express itself
Whoa.
as a butterscotch-like
Okay.
flavor and
'Cause-
playing
and
off the malts.
And
yeah.
a creamy slickness, right?
Slickness.
That's what I'm getting out of that.
You've talked me into getting
Okay.
butterscotch in both of these. This is
Both.
how malleable the sense of taste is.
Your brain,
now
your squishy
my
wet brain.
messed up, fucked up brain.
I'm not getting any
You don't want to get
butterscotch
close
in
to
the
my
left
brain.
one.
My
You
brain
know,
is all jacked up.
The
but,
Clintons killed Epstein, just so you know.
Dear.
Yeah.
Clinton cash.
That's right.
Sorry. Let's see. Maybe diacetyl does that to your brain. But I
can
do
get
a little
popcorn lung.
butterscotch. You know, I do like movie theater butter popcorn.
All right, Brian, what else do we got?
How's the dryness of the beer? The IPA should be pretty dry.
I think the one on the left is drier than the one on the right.
Is it?
That's what I think. I mean, I'm also not an IPA expert by any means.
The one on
So
the left, it feels a little more minerally, and it dries off your tongue a little faster.
Is that what?
But I don't know that's necessarily drier. The one on the right doesn't seem sweet.
How can I, as two grandmasters, can you just give me a very quick, Brian Shar, like 30-second 30-second masterclass in picking out how to differentiate minerality in a beer versus dryness? Because I'm not very good at that.
Dryness is how sweet versus not sweet the beer is. If it's sweeter in the finish, it's less attenuated. If it's less sweet in the finish, it's drier. Minerality has to do with, do you taste something like you're licking a rock?
Yes.
Do you taste salts or just plain salt or something in addition to how sweet or not sweet the beer is? Does that make sense at all?
Yes.
I would add it can accent the bitterness and the hop characteristics.
So
absolutely.
Based on that, I would say that I think they both have a similar minerality, because I think maybe like you're licking a rock can also be tannins, but this doesn't taste like tannin to me, which I'm well aware of because I'm a home brewer and I extrude tannins. But
tannins give you that mouth puckering.
Yeah,
thing
but it's also the dryness on your tongue.
Because minerality can give you a mouth pucker, but doesn't have to.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The tannins they start for me. It's like the center part of a cat's tongue where it's like sandpapery. That to me can be tanniny. I think the minerality is different than that. But when you said salt, I can get a little bit of that on the one on the left. On the one on the right, it's just kind of minerally.
Right.
So there's a difference in the water profile. I think if I'm dissecting your brain.
I think you're dissecting my squishy brain correctly.
The classic homebrewer adjustment is calcium sulfate. It's gypsum, adding a little gypsum to your water to get the calcium you need to make your malts convert happily. If you have low calcium or a malt that needs help converting, or and sulfates, which and it's a part of Burtonizing your water too. But then there's also a lot of other minerals that go into it. So like minerality probably isn't even really a word, but like there's magnesium, there's sulfates, there's chloride. Chloride can accent the sweetness of a beer, and sodium. There's all different minerals that do all different things, and we should just let Jeff talk about minerals in water for a while, because he's a master level judge almost. Once we get his exam results back, I think.
Minerality is a word. It's a non-scientific term used to describe flavors that smell or taste like rocks or organic matter.
Yes.
Soil.
So I wasn't talking out of my ass.
I mean, maybe, but
okay, I was.
Yeah.
Partly.
Okay, well, we got minerality out of the way.
Okay,
bitterness? I now think I understand. Bitterness.
Is one more bitter than the other?
That's hard because I feel like one is sweeter than the other. I think one is drier and one is not as dry. The one on the right. But it could be some of that sweet, creaminess of the maybe lower carbonation.
Could it be because the lower carbonation?
Yeah, low carbonation, maybe some of that butterscotch.
I think there's a little more
creaminess
there.
Yeah.
I think the one on the right is a little more bitter.
Okay.
A little. I think the bitterness is close.
To me, I'm like, the left one has I felt a little more mineralness, and that's accenting the bitterness in a way that's kind of biting my tongue more, along with the increased carbonation in it. So, to me, it feels more bitter, but actually I think they're probably about even. If this one was more carbonated on the right, it would be about even.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to emphasize, we're talking about small differences here. I think these are, in a lot of ways, really close. Right?
Yes.
We're talking about how these are beers that are, cardboard or carbonation. The flavors and aromas and characters of these beers are really tightly grouped here.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree.
Okay, so which one is the homebrew? Can you guys guess?
Brian Shar, guess right now.
I am guessing left solely based on it being slightly more cloudy.
Okay. Wow. I'm guessing the right one is the homebrew.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to guess.
Because?
Because it's a little undercarbonated.
Yeah.
It's a little there's a little diacetyl thing. Those are really the only two things. Actually, to be honest with you, mainly it's the carbonation level.
Right.
For me, it's a little too low for, unless it's a growler fill, in which case then I'm just
all bets are off.
Can
Bev tell us which one was? I happen to
you probably
believe or know that the one on the right is the homebrew, and the one on the left is the Bell's.
Bev, can you confirm or deny this, please?
I wrote it down also. Left was
Because
Bell's.
left and right are hard to remember.
Right was the homebrew.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
Oh man.
Oh, Brian Shaw.
So
I totally lose this game.
I want to let you know that I my streak is intact.
Yes.
Jeff.
Very well done, JP. Now, Jeff, will you tell me a story about when I got to Santa Barbara and like the first thing that happened when I got there and we went out to your kegerator?
I was kissed by 4 homeless men.
Oh God, that's the worst thing I've heard
beers.
this month.
Oh yeah.
He poured me 2 beers.
Absolutely 2 beers. I had to pour them each, brought them out, we
Secretly.
sat down, we did the same thing you guys went through
On your nice little patio out there out back your house. Yeah.
And so it is a question of one of them is a little bit undercarbonated, so mine's a little bit undercarbonated. Also was in a growler that came up on Sunday to now. So there's that.
The ones that we tasted on your patio though were more evenly carbonated. There wasn't a big difference.
Yeah, was it harder to determine?
It was hard.
Jeff, did he get it right? Did Brian guess correctly?
He did, and
Okay.
what it came down to was actually I think the cloudiness. And so I would have guessed. So my beer is super clear because I put biofine in it, and theirs is a little bit hazy. And so he sort of knew, like, hey, I know Bell's is a little bit hazy.
Yeah, I remember
so
having
that's sort of how he had
a
sort of
little
picked
bit
it
of
out.
the haze, and
I didn't realize mine was going to come out so clear compared to
Yeah.
Bell's. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done the.
You didn't realize that you were going to be too good at it.
Brian's intuition
I didn't know it
kicked
was
my
going to look
ass.
so cool.
You're right. Yeah, I didn't know I was going to be excellent at the thing.
no, and I thought maybe the growler that I brought would, that Jeff would have shook up the keg a little bit and got a little cloudiness into there, so it would be even harder this time. But also the combination of the lighter carbonation made it easy for me to tell again which was which. But I think the beers are pretty close. Honestly,
I think they're very, very
if
similar.
you had to score this beer, where would you put it, Brian? The homebrew.
I would score this homebrew in the high 30s.
As a clone brew?
As a clone brew, 38, 40. I mean, this is these beers are really tightly grouped. And as I thought the homebrew was the commercial example. So I gotta say it's got to be a 40, right? If I thought the homebrew was the commercial one,
Yeah,
that
if it tricked you, I would give it a 35. And just without really thinking too hard about it, my gut reaction, 35. If we sat down and thought about it and really went through a sheet, that could change either way. But
I think when I tasted it, and I don't remember there being any diacetyl at all, and the carbonation combined with being a little colder than this sample has been poured that sat in my car all day. I apologize, Jeff. I'm tasting a little hint of diacetyl, so I would also push this down into the kind of mid 30s. I would give it a 36.
Okay. All right.
It's a good beer. It's a very good beer.
It is a very good beer. And
a very good clone.
But what you're saying, what both of you are saying is absolutely correct. The flavors are there. The soul of the beer is there. It's very, very similar.
Yes.
And if we just judge it on if it had a little more carbonation, that would be harder. It'd be a harder test.
Yeah, no, I think the hops are in the right place, the bitterness is in the right place, the color's in the right place.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are right about this homebrew, and it's a really good homebrew. I enjoyed it. I drank a lot of it when I was down there.
What do you think, Jeff, about this beer?
Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised, how close it got to me, between the two. So, I would, you asked before about buying kits and doing kits. I'd do this again. Because it's their hops and it's their yeast, their house yeast. And so it really makes a pretty pleasant beer.
When you open that package of hops, I mean, what did you put it to your nose, and I mean, what did it? Centennial versus Bell's Centennial. What did you get?
I don't know that it was noticeable to me that it was that much different, but I think they get the cream of the crop when it comes to Centennial, right? So they go out and they're like, okay, they're rubbing their hands together and going, this is it, man. we want to put this in, a gazillion gallons.
Yeah.
Right. And this is an all centennial beer, so
yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, if this were old school Jamil show, Can You Brew It? I would say cloned.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. They clone their own beers.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, Jeff. Hey, well, thanks a lot for being a guinea pig and tasting that, or not tasting, but brewing that kit for us. I appreciate that. And then for having a mule.
There's more to come.
An inside mule.
No, thank you guys. It was a fun experiment, and I'm enjoying drinking my experiment.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's the best kind, man.
Drink some more tonight, right now.
All right, dude. Take care, and send us some other beer if you want.
All right, peace out, guys.
All right, later, dude.
Cheers.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
We got pieced out.
Yeah, totally pieced out.
I haven't been pieced out in a long time.
All
right.
It's pretty tight.
Oh, man.
Well, that was good stuff.
No, and
that was cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad that we had it side by side. That was really the key for that.
It was a nice way to be welcomed, and I'm going down there and driving for 6 hours from Northern California, getting down to SoCal. 5 minutes from the beach, and looking out their front window at the clouds, but there's water a little bit, and
you're just gonna dox him right now, dude.
Walking out to the back and tasting these two beers side by side was a lot of fun for me. And
good. That sounds like it.
Jeff is a very good beer judge, and it's fun to do these kind of beer geeky things with your friends and just have some fun.
Yeah.
He's a great beer judge and a great guy.
Sure.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody, for sending in beers. That would be, of course, Jeff and Kevin.
Thanks to Bells for giving Jeff the ingredients.
That's right. Yep. And
Thank you, Bells.
Yep. And thanks to 5 Star for supporting the show. And thanks to you guys for listening to the show. If you want to be on this show, email Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com.
Brian with an I.
Brian with an I. And he will get you on. He will get you on the list to get on this show. And who wouldn't want to be on the show, to be honest with you? All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you later.
We need a few good beers.